to the Repat Nation. Peter here, you there. Welcome aboard. So just wanted to catch up with you and just check on in and let you know that in the last, week or so, I've been working on one of my projects that the goal of which is to fund my repatriation journey. That journey, for the most part, is on hold because I can't fund it. So the thinking is, I need to strike out on my own and come up with something to do that I can market to do that. So that's what I've been doing. I've been pretty much grinding long hours to get a software platform up, which right now my thinking is what I decided on was going for an allied health professional marketplace where allied health professionals, whether a phlebotomist, a DNA tester, a DOT tester, who can do samples and all that for verifications for Department of Transportation. Not limited to that. It could involve a IV therapy tech who is a medical professional, really. But they all come under allied health. A phlebotomist, for example, comes under allied health. So the marketplace is for these professionals to connect with their clients and to manage that whole process of a client making a booking, finding a provider in their area. The platform would already vet them and all that after they've onboarded and they're ready to go. So that platform brokers that whole arrangement. So that's what I'm working on. Shot in the dark. I have no idea if after all this effort it's going to work. But I'll err on the side of being optimistic that it will. So that project is what is going to feed my whole repatriation journey. It's a long way around to get there, but stick with me. So in the last week, that's what I've been working on. And a couple of days ago, I started to work on a service card, or should I say a service canvas, which I'm putting out there. I reached out to my network in LinkedIn and just started to put it out there that I'm looking for opportunities, remote opportunities in Jamaica right now as it stands, where I can utilize my skills of being a software developer. Because my thought, just past the holidays here, I can't let all these years just go to rot in my head. No, that can't happen. So the outlook for the year, not a resolution per se, but the outlook for the year and going forward is I'm going to get back in the game as best I can. Now that I have the time, because I'm still not working. So with that, that's what I've been working on. And yesterday, as I was in the document and just going through notable implementations, things that I've done over the years that I'm going to just summarize in the document, outlining my skills. That's really what I'm doing. So I'm selling myself. I worked at an insurance company years and years and years ago. 2012. Let me think here. Yeah, Crawford was 2012. And the project at the time was an interesting one. And just a short context about, the insurance industry, in that, let's say you have casualty insurance for your house and something happens. You're paying your premiums, everything's fine. But life happens, something goes wrong. And then you need to have an adjuster come out from the insurance company. You call them up and say, hey, look, I lost my roof to a tornado. Whatever happens, something happened. Catastrophic. So they would come out and they would look at your house and do an assessment and begin to file a paperwork process for it to go back to their back office. And after all the vetting and validation and all that, they cut you a check to make your building whole. So at a high level, I'm not an insurance person, so don't come at me, please. And that's generally the process. So at that time, and for those who remember Katrina is what I think, as I understand it, sparked all this. Because after Katrina, and even beyond Hurricane Katrina, there were times when an insurance company gets flooded, no pun intended, an insurance company gets flooded with requests for, doing evaluations and adjustment calls and all that. And to follow through that entire process of having someone come out, do the assessment, file the assessment, cut them a check, send them a check, that kind of a thing. And when I went to go work for the insurance company, what they wanted to do was to automate the entire process of doing that. So they would have the adjusters go out. The adjusters would have, at the time, these are like primitive handhelds. I think the product was called Attachmate. So the adjuster goes out, they pull up to an address, 123 Main Street, somewhere in America, and they go ahead and they do their assessment. So they put the details of the assessment into the handheld. And then that immediately gets into the back office to begin the process now of, cutting a check and sending it out. That is the goal. So this has to be done at scale because you could have, I don't know, I forgot what the number was, but at any one moment you could have 30, 40, 50,000 checks being cut in a certain limited amount of time. So my job at the time was to come up with a way to write a check, sign it, and send that check to a mailroom. And I'm oversimplifying it. But just to expand on that, in a mailroom, which is really a warehouse, I say mail, they call it a mailroom, but it is not a traditional mailroom. It is a huge warehouse. And as part of that process, my software, what I developed for them, I'm going to take a blank check, a literal blank check, and it is going to be printed in a Bell & Howell printer. That printer is a vast industrial-sized printer. So we call it a spitting process because it's spitting out checks. When it's processing, it's going to be going along the line. I don't know I forgot how many checks they can do per minute or per hour, but it is an insane amount of checks that are getting printed. And why do you need so many? Remember, when there's a disaster, there are people calling in a huge volume to their insurance company. If you got an area like New Orleans back in Katrina, you're going to get multiples of thousands of people just bombarding the insurance companies. Give you a little bit more context. The insurance company that I worked for, is not an insurance company that you're going to see a sign on a building that says Joe Blow Insurance Brokers, blah, 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 blah. They're not a State Farm or any other popular ones, the Geico's and all that. They're not like that. They are a private insurance company that farms out the process to other insurance companies. So the adjuster that pulls up to an address doesn't work for my insurance company. They work for another insurance company who then hires us to do the back office work. Hope it makes sense. So they outsource the heavy lifting to Crawford. Crawford is going to get the adjuster's information. Crawford is going to process it. When it gets okayed, Crawford is going to cut a check that says this check is from State Farm. I'm just using a name. This check is from Hartford, whoever the insurance company that the insured uses. They will get a check that says, from your insurance company, Hartford, here's a check for $50,000. They think that it's coming directly from their insurance company. It is not. It is white labeled to Crawford to do the heavy lifting. Okay. So that way, that's what I'm telling you now, that Crawford gets hit with high volume transactions. And they were getting bogged down, and even more so after the whole Katrina deal and every other disaster that happens. The fires out in California is one example. The flooding down in Miami with the tides that are coming in because of, global warming, they're saying. All that's happening. So things are happening more and more throughout the country. So the responsiveness of insurance companies has to improve. And at the time, it was pretty backward back in after Katrina, coming into the 2010s and all that. Very, very, compared to now, I guess. I've been out of the industry for so long. So with that, Crawford said, hey, we need to have a better platform in order to issue checks faster, to cut them, send them out faster. So that's where Peter comes in. So I developed the software. I set it up. Again, it gets a blank check. There's a box of checks sitting somewhere in the mail room, which is a huge warehouse. And the pipeline begins by that check comes along a pipeline, and it gets written to, it gets signed, and it gets sent out. It goes out back to the Bell and Howell machine again. It goes back out to the Bell and Howell industrial size printer, which can move multiples of thousands of checks. So my system talks to another system. So my system is, I pick up a blank check. It's in my program that I wrote. I take the information from another back office. I do what is called stamping. I stamp the check, put every information on it. It goes to another system, and it gets a signature. It has to go on the check. That signature is very secure. So my system, it can only read the image. I take the image out of that system, bring it into mine. I place it on the check. I make sure everything's okay. I validate all that. And then I send the written check that's been cut. So I cut the check and I send it on to the Bell and Howell. I'm in Atlanta. The Bell and Howell mailroom is in Chicago, Illinois. We are nowhere near each other. This is all happening system to system, talking to each other. Okay? Nobody's looking at this and talking to them. We're all disparate locations. But it's happening in real time. So as I was thinking through, one of my major accomplishments, that's what came to mind. in terms of what I've done over the years. Very interesting projects that I've worked on. So for the spitting out process, to spit out all these checks, the, at the end of it, if I remember correctly, at the end of it, after all these checks are spit out, somebody collates them into the postal service crates, and they're going to be picked up by a forklift and then put into a freight haul for the postal service. So at the end of a certain period in the day, or if they do it multiple times a day, I can't remember, but at some point during the day, the postal service comes to the mailroom to pick up the outgoing mail. The outgoing mail, just to give you a sense of scale, the outgoing mail is going on a whole rig. So the postal worker backs up a semi to a bay door, a whole 53-foot trailer, backs it up to a mail door, and they're going to start loading all of these checks that are going out. Really mail. It's mail that's going out. That's what I said to you. Even though we call it a mail room, it's a whole warehouse. So they back up the trailer, and they load all the checks that are going out. And then when they finish loading the trailer, the UPS postal worker then scans another handheld at the end of that process to say it's been picked up. Picture this. If a homeowner calls the insurance company at 9 o'clock in the morning and says, I reached out to y'all 2-3 days ago, I ain't got no roof, what's going on? So the agent would go in and look up, okay. Oh, okay. Your check has been printed, but it's not been sent out yet. This was before the days of real-time push alerts back to phone. This was not a thing back then. This is totally old school. Primitive by today's standards. Oh my gosh, almost laughable. So they say, okay, the check's been cut, but it hasn't been sent out yet. Okay, cool. The whole day goes by. The homeowner calls back again. Where's my check? It's been 12 hours. Where's my check? The agent goes back in. Mr. Joe Blow, from what I can see here, your check has been sent out. It was sent out today at 7 p.m. You should be having that check in a couple of days. We thank you for your patience and thank you for calling, blah, 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 insurance company. Have a good night. Thank you very much. So in that whole process, when the postal worker comes back and checks in to the platform and says, okay, we've picked it up, my system is now listening for that. I'm waiting because I cut a check or a series of them throughout the day. My system is waiting and listening for a response. Because if I don't do that, the customer agent or whoever can't tell the homeowner what happened. So they're relying on my system. So when they go in, they're on the phone call. When they're going in on their computer to look it up, if my system doesn't respond to theirs, they won't know what happened and can't tell them anything. So their system is looking to my system to tell them what happened. So they can tell the homeowner what happened. Stick with me. Hope you're still awake. So pretty much that's the whole integration of that particular process. And it came to me and I thought about it and everything. And pretty cool. I can't imagine what they have now. They probably used that for quite a few years, but I can't imagine what they have now with the adjusters. I know now they have drones that go up to do inspections and all of that. When the drone takes a snapshot of whatever it's doing, it automatically knows in terms of GPS where the drone is in terms of location, and it will send all of that information back to the attachmate platform for it to log the exact location where all of this is happening. pretty wild how it's improved since, you know, my laughable primitive days of doing it that way. So yeah, that's what I thought of as I was building out my service canvas to send out to prospective clients. So I just thought I'd get on here and just have a quick talk with y'all and just let you know just where I am and what's going on. Pretty much just grinding here and just banging out code and trying to go as far as I can go with whatever little resources I have. So until the next one, I want to thank you for your time and your attention. Until we connect again, this is Peter on his way out. Y'all have a good and blessed one. Y'all take care now.